So what we're going to be doing here today is a nice piece of sockeye. I've got a couple fillets from Costco. I bought this because it's wild. I don't really care for the farm raised if I don't have to use it, and the only king salmon they had was farm raised. So anyway, this is sockeye, and for smoking, it comes out pretty good. So without further ado, let's get going. I noticed there's a little piece of where the skin's starting to separate up here. I'm gonna just move this out of the way, so I'll separate that skin. And then we just start down at this end. Try not to waste too much meat. Get down to the skin. I prefer to skin the salmon. A lot of people will leave the salmon on or leave the skin on. I think it gives it kind of an oily taste. I mean, you have to pretty much separate it before you can eat it anyway. I think the brine gets to it better if it's separated. So that's what I do. If you like the skin on, and leave the skin on. So we just kind of keep your knife flat. And you notice I'm using a raised cutting board. It's up off of the bar top here. If you have a cutting board that's right down on your table, you're going to have kind of a harder time because you're going to be struggling to get the knife down flat enough. This cutting board being raised gives me access to get my knife really flat and run right down along the edge of that meat so that I don't have a lot of waste. And you notice I was hanging on to the skin by a paper towel, because if you don't, it's going to be really slick. So let's see how we did here. I think we left a little skin there at the end, but anyway, that's that. This last little part, not too hard to get off, just get it started. Again, try not to use too much or lose too much of your meat here. And then this part here, this is kind of a blood layer. I do try to take most of that off. Don't know what the dog's barking out there. Charlie, stop it. So you don't have to go crazy on this, but I take the biggest portion of that off. Mostly the thick part that you can see there. Okay. That's good enough. There we go. So this fish here's been deboned. I kind of felt it earlier. I don't feel any bones in there. If you still had some bones, you can see they've probably used like a machine to take them out. You can take some pliers or whatever to get those out of there, but this one is pretty clean. So I just kind of chunk it up. If it's a long piece like that, I don't know, maybe just go ahead and cut this thing in half like that. There we go. And now just make yourself some nice little chunks. These are probably 2 inches by 1 inch. I left a little piece of skin on there. And then once you get this cut up, then we'll off to the next part. So I got another fillet to deskin and to cut up, and I'll come back here when I'm done with that. Okay, for the next part of the operation here, we have 2 ingredients. Kosher salt. I've got dark brown sugar, but light sugar would be fine. That's just what they happen to have when I grabbed it. So 2 ingredients. I've got maybe 3 cups of sugar here and a cup of the kosher salt. So real easy, just spread out a nice layer. I used to always do a wet brine on my salmon for probably 30 years, and several years ago my brother gave me some salmon he did, and he did dry brine. So I tried that out, and I think I like it better. It's easier, less ingredients and less work. So anyway, put down a layer of the brown sugar, put down some salt. The measurements aren't real important here. So put some salt down and just take your salmon and lay it out. Get yourself a layer and then throw some more sugar on top of it. This is not real crucial either. We're going to stick this in the refrigerator when we're done here, and it's going to sit at least 24 hours. And when you bring it out, it's just going to be liquid. It's going to draw, that salt's going to draw the liquid out of that salmon, and it's just going to be sitting in its juices. So anyway, you put another coat of brown sugar and salt, then layer another layer of salmon, and then put some more sugar and salt on top of that, and that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what we have before we stick it in the fridge. Okay, last step before this goes in the fridge. You can see I put another layer of salmon on there, more sugar, more salt. So I use probably 3+ cups of the brown sugar, and I only used maybe 3/4 of the cup of the kosher salt, and I have about 3.5 pounds of salmon here. So I covered up with some cling wrap. This is just kind of so we don't smell up the garage fridge too much. And that's it. So this is going to go in the fridge for about 24 hours, and we'll see you back once that's done. Okay, here we are 24 hours later. You can see how much fluid came out of the salmon, and also you notice it's way firmer. You can see yesterday was pretty limp, pretty flexible, very soft. Now it's firm. So the next step, we're going to take the salmon, we're going to lightly rinse it under cool water, and we're going to put it on the racks, and I'll show you how we do that right now. Okay, here we go. Next step of the process. First thing you want to do is, a lot of people leave the skin on the salmon to keep, they say it's to keep it from sticking to the racks, but just regular store brand cooking spray. Take and spray your rack real good. I've never had salmon stick to the rack, so that's a trick. Set your rack aside. Rinse the salmon really light. I'm just going to do a couple pieces so you get the idea. Light rinse. And then I like to take paper towels. You see I got paper towels down here. Blot it off with the paper towels, and then just lay them out on my rack. Don't touch So just, you know, 1/4 inch apart, and then just fill your racks up with that. So I'm going to do that. Once I've got the racks loaded up, I'll show you the next step. Okay, here now we got the fish in the rack. You can see I only use 2 racks. This Big Chief, you can put 5 racks in this thing. So 3.5 pounds of fish, use 2 racks. You could easily get 8 pounds of fish in one of these things. So at this point, you just want it, you're not going to go right into the smoker. You got to let it set up for a while, at least an hour or so. I usually go 1 to 2 hours. You'll start getting kind of a sticky, what they call a pellicle coating on the fish. And that kind of helps the smoke stick to the fish and give you that nice smoke flavor. So catch you back in about an hour and we'll go ahead and get this in the smoker. All right, next steps on our salmon smoking here. It's been about an hour and a half. You can see how shiny this salmon is. Sticky. It's ready for the smoker. So what I got here is I'm using alder wood, which is a nice mellow wood for smoking salmon. This particular smoker, all you do is put your chips in a pan. There's a little tray here in the front. You slip the pan in. It sits down on top of a heating element. So these big Chiefs, little Chiefs, are nothing but a aluminum box with a heating element in the bottom. That's all there is to it. So we just take the top off and drop the salmon in. I've already got the smoker turned on, so it shouldn't be long before it starts smoking. Just drop it in, put the lid on. That tray of chips should take about 20 to 30 minutes to burn. Once it's burnt, I'll add some more chips. I usually add about 3 pans of chips. So we'll put smoke on this fish for the first hour and a half, 2 hours, and then after that it'll just be the heat. Now, I don't really go by looks on my smoked salmon or jerky. I go more by feel. It's going to get real firm. You don't want it to go to the point to where it's burnt and turns into dust. So it's going to have just a little bit of give. It takes a little practice to get it perfect. But I'll show you once we start getting close to having some done, we'll describe that. It's not going to all get done at the same exact time. Some pieces are a little thicker, some are closer to the heating element. So we'll play that by ear. I'll come back once we get some fish ready to look at. Okay, just pulled out the fish to take a look at it. What I do is kind of feel it. This is pretty firm, but it's still got quite a bit of squish to it. You can see some of them. You see how that's very squishy, but if you open it, I mean, this is actually perfect for some people. I like it a little drier, so don't be afraid to crack it open and take a look at it. I mean, it's super delicious. This is actually really good. Some of it's going to be a little drier. You decide how you like it. Like this little piece here, so the thinner pieces, this one's done. See, it's pretty firm, still flaky. Notice the color difference. See how dry and red that is? And this is still pretty fleshy looking. So this to me is done. This still needs a little bit of time. So anyway, that's pretty much the process. I'll take a little picture at the end when it all comes off, but I'm gonna pull some of this off and give some of it a little more time. And that pretty much concludes the video. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and If you have any comments or anything, let me know. And if there's any other smoking tips you would like or videos you would like to see, let me know. Thanks.